What you're looking at is a real combat vehicle. You can see it on the sides, all over the hull. It has been through a lot. Believe me, these vehicles save lives. Not just the infantry's, but the crews as well. You haven't seen the other side panels. They're covered with shrapnel damage, but the armor takes an incredible amount of punishment. Before I was wounded, I drove one without this additional armor. I think if we'd had this armor back then, the outcome wouldn't have been the same. But overall, there's no question about it. If it had been a Soviet BMP-1 or BMP-2 instead, the result would have been completely different. That's another huge advantage of these vehicles. We've had crews drive over mines, 3 mines in a row, for sure. And the crew still survived. Again, just for comparison, you'll definitely end up with your head rattled. But in a Soviet BMP, if the blast hits the left side, the driver usually doesn't survive. There was never any question of whether they were shooting at us or not. Whether you're scared or not, everyone's scared.
You've driven the Bradley, you fought in it. Have you ever had the urge to keep one for yourself? Maybe drive it to your high school reunion?
The guys were joking on TikTok, trading my Mercedes for a Bradley. It can come without ammunition. I'll find the ammo myself. It's an expensive vehicle to maintain. No doubt about that, it isn't cheap. But honestly, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have around the house.
In your opinion, what qualities should a vehicle commander have?
First and foremost, he has to be a leader, and a guy with guts, just like the rest of the crew. My commander is simply an incredible person. God bless him with good health. Right now, he's recovering from his wounds. I'm waiting impatiently for him to come back. I really hope he returns so we can keep working together. The man who saved my life. Tsar, you're the best. I love you, brother. Because if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. After combat missions, we always get together and go over everything. That position is doing this. You can see that. You've got that sector. I've got this one. I can see that landmark. I can see this landmark. We're constantly saying, guys, we need to move. They're starting to bracket us with artillery. Let's change positions. From here, I can cover that area. I can engage over there. I can see this. In combat, you squeeze every last bit of performance out of both yourself and the vehicle. And the Bradley delivers. These machines take an unbelievable amount of punishment. They're operating right at the limit. Maximum effort in every aspect.
We all know tanks have those so-called cope cages mounted on top to reduce the chances of being hit or suffering catastrophic armor damage. But I've never seen one installed on a Bradley. Do you use those grills, as people call them?
I haven't seen one on a single Bradley yet.
Neither have I.
We improve them in other ways. The guys add extra armor protection, additional protective systems, and reinforce certain vulnerable areas. As for a cope cage, I don't know. Maybe it could help against an FPV drone. But against FPVs, electronic warfare does the job. The jammers. Against a javelin, a cope cage is pointless. Anti-drone nets are useful when the vehicle is parked in one place. Everything has its purpose.
This combat vehicle has reached an unbelievable level of popularity in Ukraine. Do you think that after the war, people will actually start naming their children Bradley?
That would sound a little strange, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Maybe people will end up naming their own cars Bradley. The truth is, though, the Bradley isn't the only impressive vehicle out there. I'm curious about the Martyr. I'm curious how the CV90 performs. I'd really like to try them myself someday, just to compare them. Machines like those are genuinely fascinating.
Welcome, Army TV viewers. You're watching Military Television of Ukraine. Today's episode of Military Discovery is all about the world's best infantry fighting vehicles. We're skipping the Israeli Namer and German Puma for now, since they haven't hit the battlefield yet. But the Ukrainian armed forces already have 2 other heavy hitters in their arsenal. The Swedish CV90 and the American M2 Bradley. We'll be drag racing them, firing their weapons, testing their accuracy, and checking how fast troops can dismount from the back. We'll talk armor, firepower, and everything in between. just to keep things interesting and find out which one comes out on top. Let's go. Vehicle weight,
38 tons,
engine power,
600 horsepower,
wheel or levers,
steering wheel,
transmission,
automatic,
top speed,
33 miles per hour,
vehicle weight,
28 tons,
engine power,
500 horsepower,
wheel or levers,
steering wheel,
transmission,
automatic,
top speed.
50 miles per hour.
All right, now let's see which one hits the tree line first. Bradley or the CV-90? Bradley on the move. We had a good run. I even rode along, but CV-90 won that race. Let's see which one shoots more accurately. What's the caliber of the gun?
40 millimeters,
Max range with high explosive rounds?
up to 7.8 miles.
Armor piercing range?
Armor piercing goes out to 22 miles.
Rate of fire?
300 rounds per minute.
Autoloader? 24 rounds total?
Yeah, three mags of 8 rounds, all out in 30 seconds.
Max range to knock out a tank from the side?
0.9 to 1.2 miles. They've got real punch at that range.
All right then, let's put that accuracy to the test. What's the main gun on the M2 Bradley?
That's the Bushmaster.
Types of rounds it fires?
High explosive and armor piercing.
Max firing range?
2.5 miles.
And its effective range?
1.2 miles.
What about rate of fire?
Around 100 to 200 rounds per minute.
Of course, you can't do a real comparison without checking out the troop compartments, right? Let's start with the CV-90, and let's have our Cossacks show us how fast and smooth you can jump in. Dismount! Armor up! So, how's that, Cossacks?
Not bad, but it's actually more comfy inside the Bradley.
All right then, let's check it out. And while we're at it, let's see how fast we can hit the ground on command.
Dismount. Hit the ground.
Now let's show how loading into the Bradley works. Dismount! Armor up! Oh, now this one's more fun.
Yeah, the Bradley's way more comfortable, faster, and more efficient. Especially when you're loading in under pressure. You can carry wounded brothers if needed, plus ammo and gear.
But we've still got to see how dismounting works. So, dismount, hit the ground. All right, we've had some fun. The drag race, CV90 wins. In the shooting test, CV90 also locked on quicker and took the target out. But I want to go back to the drag race because the Bradley's over 5.5 tons heavier. I think that made the difference in speed. CV90 has those extra traction teeth. And Bradley doesn't have those, right?
No, it doesn't.
But speaking of added weight, the extra mass comes from the Brat 2 explosive reactive armor. And I'm guessing that's saving your life out there. Pretty big plus, huh?
Yeah, it does the job. But even without the reactive armor, the Bradley's already 5.5 tons heavier. Add the extra protection, and that's another almost 4 tons.
So what's the full weight?
On paper, it's about 35 tons, and with the ERA, it's pushing 39 tons.
All right, what's your take?
Give us ERA too, let's even the odds a bit. But I'll say this, even without the ERA, it's holding up against FPV strikes. Only the extra armor takes partial damage. So yeah, even without reactive armor, it still holds.
And this one's modular, right? So you can swap parts out?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything on the turret's modular. The turret itself is about half the size. You actually see the rest is add-on armor.
So modularity is definitely a plus. Now let's talk firepower. The Bradley's got a 25mm gun, while the CV90 rocks a 40mm. In today's combat, when you need to rush infantry into the tree line and lay down a lot of suppressing fire, the Bushmaster looks better thanks to its rate of fire, especially when you switch it to 200 rounds per minute. We've seen that in action. But that 40mm, it hits armored targets a lot harder, right?
Yeah. Plus, the high explosive effect of the round is a lot stronger. Each shell sends shrapnel flying out to about 50 feet. So I don't need to saturate the whole tree line. I can just spread rounds every 33 feet and get the job done. And when it comes to armor, the subcaliber rounds can punch through up to 100mm of armor, maybe even more.
I'll say our HE rounds aren't far behind. We've got shrapnel spread up to 33 feet, and the fire rate really helps, especially if you're laying down a tight group to cover infantry pulling back. Plus, I've got more ammo on board. So yeah, rate of fire gives us an edge.
And you've got those 2 extra surprises?
Yep, 2 Tau missiles. Those can take out a tank head-on. We've already done it. Took out a T-80 by punching through the turret. And our AP rounds armor piercing go through up to 70mm of armor.
So you're saying you could still use a few more heavy anti-tank options?
But we've got an ace up our sleeve. We can fire very accurately from covered positions out to 8 miles.
So kind of like light artillery?
Exactly.
Since we're already talking about guns and armor, would you want to replace the Bradley's 25mm with a 40mm Bushmaster?
If we could keep the same fire rate we've got now, yeah, I think I would.
And what about putting Bradley's explosive reactive armor onto the CV90?
I'd use some of it.
Like along the sides?
No, just on the front.
But wouldn't that hurt your mobility?
Definitely. A hit to the engine will stop the whole vehicle, so yeah, better to have some protection.
Now about optics. I already spoke to the mechanics, and I know Bradley's got the edge here, right?
Yeah, the driver's got a night camera and a thermal imager. As far as I know, you guys don't have that?
We've only got a basic night vision scope.
Plus, we've got displays for the troops in the back. They can see where the driver's going and what the gunner's targeting. They've got a clear view of the situation outside.
Ours just has voice comms, old school analog, and all in Swedish, by the way.
All right, let's talk mine blasts. Everyone knows Bradley can handle a TM series anti-tank mine. Maybe even two. What about the CV-90?
CV-90s can also take a TM hit, even two, depending on the situation. Sure, you'll lose mobility, but the crew and dismounts usually walk away just fine.
So even without explosive reactive armor, the CV-90 can survive mines, AT weapons, and FPV drones. And with ERA, the Bradley handles all of that even better?
Yeah, we've taken FPV hits too. No problem. I've been hit by a mine myself. No injuries. The vehicle holds up. Even if some wires or electronics get damaged, it still drives. One time we took a 1.5 FPV hit, blew through the troop compartment, but the thing kept moving.
And when it comes to night signatures, we've got to mention that massive advantage on the CV-90, the Barracuda camo netting. We've seen night footage where you can only make out the tracks and the troops jumping out. This cover blocks both visual and thermal detection. How much of a lifesaver is it really?
That camo really works like you said. The thermal signature of a single infantryman is sometimes more visible than the whole vehicle on thermal. From personal experience, we had the CV-90 in a tree line, working from a concealed position. I walked off to the command post and came back later. I knew exactly where it was, it hadn't moved, and I still couldn't see it. You know, trees were bare, weather was clear. Only when I was like 30 feet away did I finally spot it, just standing there between the trees, dirty and blended in perfectly.
Іду і її не бачу, тобто побачив її з дуже маленької відстані.
Well, we don't have Barracuda camo, but honestly, same story. The Bradley gets so caked in mud that once you park it and throw a couple of branches on, even you can't find it.
And about the Barracuda, it's also installed on the Swedish STRV-122 tank. Basically, they're Leopard 2.5. So yeah, Swedish vehicles are big on thermal camouflage, on tanks, IFVs, you name it. And I hear you guys even have a built-in food heater?
Yeah, that's right.
And what's the cooking situation like for you?
As far as I know, the CV-90's multi-cooker can boil water in about 20 minutes?
Roughly, yeah.
But come on, we've got those little field burners. Cup of water, 3 minutes, done and gone.
But those things catch fire.
Hey, sometimes you're out on a run. You gotta eat fast, so you down it and go.
All right, multi-cooker advantage, neutralized.
On fire safety grounds.
We don't need a multi-cooker anyway.
All right, folks, we've seen pretty much everything. Maybe the CV-90's faster, but it's got lighter armor, it's more accurate, and fires faster, so that's a win. But when it comes to troop comfort, Bradley wins hands down. It's got better optics for the driver and higher fire rate with the main gun. Still, the CV-90 hits harder with its 40mm and can engage from concealed positions. Its night camo is also better, no question. On the other hand, the Bradley wins on overall armor protection. Looking at all this, I gotta say, I can't pick a winner. First, came here thinking the newer CV-90 would blow the Bradley out of the water. But honestly, they're neck and neck. Each has its strengths and trade-offs. But imagine combining them, CV-90's gun, dynamic armor, Barracuda camo, wider troop bay, better underbody protection. That would probably be the best IFV in the world. For now, we've got two of the best, and they're both awesome in their own way. But above all, we've got the best people defending our country.
A few months ago, the 100th Separate Mechanized Brigade received the Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle, IFV. It's already become a legendary vehicle in the Russo-Ukrainian War. Today we're talking with the crews of the Steel 100, who are fighting in Bradleys on the Toretsk axis. When you first got it, you already knew the 47th Brigade had been using it. You knew it had a legendary reputation and was an incredibly capable vehicle. Weren't you afraid at all? Afraid you might not live up to those expectations?
Of course we were scared. We were afraid something wouldn't work, that something would go wrong. But we learned. There were times when we hit mines, and not just one. The crew and the dismount infantry didn't suffer a single casualty. The tracks were blown off, the road wheels were ripped away, but the crew was fine. The infantry was fine, and everyone walked away on their own 2 feet.
How much do you actually feel the blast inside a Bradley?
I can't speak for the infantry in the back, but for us, because we're wearing our crew helmets with built-in communications, we don't even end up with concussions. The infantry is incredibly grateful because this vehicle can get into towns and positions that are extremely difficult for other vehicles to reach.
Kipish, you're responsible for the weapon system on this vehicle. What have you got here?
Well, I'm the deputy vehicle commander and also the gunner. My job is simple: acquire the target and engage it.
With the 25mm M242 Bushmaster cannon.
That's right?
I know that before this you were an infantryman.
Yeah. The last time I was out there, I spent 28 days on the frontline positions. When we rotated out, a Marder IFV evacuated us. Back then, I didn't even know I'd be switching to a Bradley. After we came back, my company commander offered me a chance to move over to armored vehicles. On those first missions, well, only a fool isn't afraid, right? I was scared. I thought I wouldn't be able to handle it, but my battalion commander told me he believed in me and that I'd make it. My first mission was on January 1st. That night we made 2 combat runs. The mission was to drive to the pickup point, and while one infantry unit rotated out and another moved in, I kept the enemy suppressed with fire. I mostly fire high explosive rounds. Honestly, I like the way everything explodes downrange. I actually head out there willingly, because I know the guys are waiting. And we've got to bring them back. I used to be in their place myself.
Your brigade has Marders, UPRs, and now Bradleys. Was that just the Marder firing in the background, or did its gun jam?
No, that's exactly how it was firing.
Nothing unusual.
That's just its rate of fire. I think the Marder actually has a slightly higher rate of fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you just heard in the background was a Marder firing its 7.62mm machine gun. This Bradley also has a 7.62mm machine gun. Can you send a burst like that too?
Of course I can.
So what's your impression? You climb into a Bradley after hearing everyone praise it. How great it is, how well it moves. Then you finally drive one yourself. Does it live up to the hype?
Absolutely. It drives incredibly well. It goes wherever you need it to go.
What's its top speed?
On flat ground, it tops out at 60 kilometers per hour, about 37 miles per hour, which is what it's designed to do. It won't go any faster than that. Overall, it's an excellent vehicle. It drives great.
Your job is probably the most critical one. You have to get the infantry to the objective, drop them off, pick them back up, not miss a turn, and arrive at exactly the right place because you don't have much time.
Let's put it this way. I have to listen to the commander and memorize the route. And if I don't remember a certain turn, I'd rather ask the commander again to make sure we take the right one and get where we're supposed to go. It's a little weak in deep mud because the vehicle is so heavy, but overall, it gets through.
Because it's a heavy machine. What's it weigh? 38 metric tons, about 42 US tons.
38 metric tons, about 42 US tons. That's with the reactive armor installed.
And when you're driving at night, you've got some kind of...
At night, you can drive using the night camera or through the vision blocks. If you're driving through the vision blocks, then you need the headlights. We try to drive with the headlights whenever we can. You can drive using the camera too. But it's more difficult because you can't always see a 45-degree or even a 90-degree turn. I might miss it. With the vision blocks, once you switch on the headlights, you can see much more of the terrain and spot the turn you need to make.
I also wanted to ask, how long does it need to warm up? Does it even start in winter?
It doesn't need much warm-up at all. You start it, and you can drive almost immediately. It doesn't need much time to get up to operating temperature.
It made it through the winter with you in Toretsk. Did you ever have problems starting it in freezing weather?
No, never. They generally start without any issues. When it was really freezing outside, we'd start it up and let it run for about 15 to 20 minutes, just so it could idle and recharge the batteries.
Before the infantry, what did you do as a civilian?
I was a baker.
A baker?
Yeah, I worked at a bakery. I also went to the Czech Republic for work. Up until I was mobilized, I was still working in a bakery.
God willing, after you're demobilized, will you go back to it?
No, I'd stay in the military.
So you've really fallen in love with this job even more than baking?
Yeah, absolutely.